Winter is coming. So if you don't want your ass to get killed by a White Walker, I'm going to show you how you can fix your heating system so you can get the hell out of Dodge. I'll be showing you how to do this on this 2000 Dodge Ram 1500, but since most automotive heating systems are very similar to each other, you'll be able to use the information in this video to fix any automotive heating system. And we're going to start by the most likely cause of your no heat issue and work our way down. But first, some good old whiteboard action. And what I mean is I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how the heating and the cooling system on your car works, because they're both related to one another. Alright, so you obviously have coolant inside your intake manifold, inside and around your engine and cylinder blocks, and it goes without saying throughout your cooling system as well. So when your engine is cold and you start your engine, your thermostat, which is this guy right here, is in the closed position, which means it doesn't let coolant pass through it. Next, after the engine warms up, the coolant warms up, and when it gets to a certain predetermined temperature by your thermostat, the thermostat opens like this, and now coolant can flow through it. And once your thermostat opens, coolant flows through this upper radiator hose down to your radiator. And there we got our fans blowing air over our radiator, lowering the temperature of the coolant that's flowing through it. And then from there, coolant flows either directly to the water pump, which is on our engine, or through some piping back to the water pump. And with the help of our water pump, the whole cycle repeats itself. Now, the way your heating system makes use of this is that right before your thermostat, usually on your intake manifold, you got two hoses going out from your intake manifold through your firewall to your heater core. You have one hose bringing in coolant inside your heater core. Your blower fan inside your dash blows over your heater core, slightly cooling the coolant flowing through this, and then the coolant travels back through another hose to the rest of your cooling system. Now let me show you these on the car as well. So on this Dodge Ram, we have our thermostat housing and our thermostat right there. We have this upper radiator hose attached to it that goes here. So when the thermostat opens, coolant flows through this hose to our radiator, this guy right here. And right here you can see our radiator fan, which blows air over our radiator. And then from there, coolant flows through this lower radiator hose back to our water pump, which is mounted in front of the engine on this car. And next, if you were to look back towards the firewall, you can see two coolant lines that are going through our firewall. Coolant goes in from one of these hoses and comes out the other. Alright, now that you know how the system works, let's get on to fixing your no heat issue. So if you want to be diagnosing a no heat issue, first thing you want to make sure is that you're working on a cold engine. This is very important that you're working on a cold engine, because the next step is to open the radiator cap. And if you're not working on a cold engine, hot coolant is going to come flying at your face and you're going to lose it. And next, you want to check your coolant level and make sure you have enough coolant inside your cooling system. Because your cooling system, and thereby your heating system, is designed in a way that if you're ever low on coolant, the coolant will remain around your engine block in order to avoid catastrophic engine failure. So if you're low on coolant, there isn't enough hot coolant inside your heater core, therefore you're not going to get heat out of your air vents. And this is probably the most common cause of no heat issues. Alright, the next common cause of no heat issues is going to be due to air inside your cooling system. So if for whatever reason you recently opened up your cooling system, maybe in order to replace a water pump or a thermostat, and then simply put everything back together and topped off the cooling system, the odds are you didn't properly bleed off the air that's stuck inside your cooling system. And now that air has found its way to your heater core, and therefore keeping your heater core from working properly. Now, the best way you can bleed air out of your cooling system is to get yourself one of these spill-free funnels. They come with an assortment of adapters, which you put on your radiator like this. Next, you put in coolant a third of the way inside this funnel, and then start your engine. Also, you want to make sure that you turn your heat setting all the way to the max. So go ahead and turn your fan all the way to the max. Now on this Dodge Ram, this alone will probably open the heater core valve, but if you're working on a vehicle where everything is electronically controlled, you may actually have to turn on the fan and turn on the system for the valve to open. This will open up your heater core valve, which will allow for the flow of coolant in and out of your heater core. Also, it will help greatly if you were to park your car at an incline, because air inside your cooling system likes to find its way to the highest point. And if you were to park at an incline, it will make it a lot easier. Next, with some coolant inside of this, you want to start your engine and you want to keep the RPM at about 2,500. Then you can let it go and then rev the engine up and down. This helps dislodge air bubbles sometimes. You can also try squeezing the upper and lower radiator hoses. Sometimes this lodges air bubbles as well. And you want to keep doing this until your thermostat opens. And you'll know when this happens because the temperature of the upper radiator hose will pretty much be the same as the lower radiator hose. That's because the thermostat has opened and now the hot coolant is coming from inside our engine through our upper radiator hose. And after your thermostat opens, you want to keep revving the engine for another 5 minutes or so, and that should be enough. If your car comes with an overflow tank like this, that overflow tank more or less works as a spill-free funnel. But you should still go park in your car at an incline and do all the revving and everything else we just talked about. Another dead giveaway that you have air inside your cooling system is if you ever hear water gushing around inside your dash whenever you're driving your car. If you hear the sound of water gushing around, you definitely have air inside your cooling system and you need to bleed it out. If you need to replace a component of your cooling system before you start putting coolant back in after you replace that component, there are also bleeder screws or bleeder valves on your cooling system that you can open up. This will also help in getting the air out of your cooling system. But even if you get to those bleeder screws and use them, you should still follow the method we just went over to bleed the rest of the air out of your cooling system as well. So if your heater is still not working after bleeding air out of your system, next thing you want to check is to see whether you have a clogged heater core or not. And checking for that is pretty easy. After your car reaches operating temperature, all you have to do is to put your hand on one hose that's going through your firewall and then grab the other hose. They should both feel about the same temperature. If one of them feels warm to the touch but the other one is not, then you definitely have either a clogged heater core, or there's a problem with your heater control not working, or a problem with your heater core valve. Now, testing these is usually simple. Your heater core valve is usually on the outside, right behind before the firewall. What you can do is go inside the car, turn the knob back and forth, and come out here and make sure that it's opening and closing. But on this car, I believe the valve is actually inside the dash, so getting to it is going to be somewhat difficult. Also, I should mention that on a lot of the newer cars, there is no heater core valve anymore. So instead of closing and opening this up and allowing or not allowing coolant to flow through your heater core, the way they work is by the use of some stepper motors and some door flaps. They allow for the air that's inside your cabin to either flow through your heater core or around your heater core. Also, if inside your car you're getting hot air out of one air vent but not out the other, these stepper motors or their flaps are probably the culprit. Alright, but now what if you have a clogged heater core, as in you've checked and the valve is working properly, it opens and closes, but one hose is warm while the other one is not. If this happens, what you can do is to try to flush your heater core without removing it, and you do that by using the two hoses that go to it. Alright, so if you wanted to flush our heater core on this car, all you have to do is to remove this hose. It goes down here on this end, and the other hose comes down here, wraps around, and goes down there, so we remove that as well. Next, you grab yourself a bucket, put one hose inside the bucket, and then attach the other hose to your garden hose, and then start to open the valve for your garden hose. And by doing this, you should be able to open up your heater core. But if it's a severe case, you can also try putting in some flushing detergent that you can get you at your local auto parts store inside one of the hoses first, and then attach your garden hose to that. You should also try to flush your heater core both directions, so basically swap the whole garden hose and the bucket around. And the next culprit, if you're having no heat issues, is going to be a stuck open thermostat. So if you have a thermostat that's always stuck open, in other words, it's not closed when your engine is cold, right from the start, coolant can flow through your cooling system and therefore never have the chance to properly warm up. Luckily, diagnosing this issue is pretty easy because your coolant temperature gauge inside your dash is going to be stuck in a low position and therefore never reach operating temperature. Now, a stuck closed thermostat is usually not the cause of your no heat issue, because a stuck closed thermostat will still allow for the flow of hot coolant through your heater core. But if you have a stuck closed thermostat, your car is going to start overheating anyway, so that's not an issue, but I just thought I'd clear that up. And that should about cover it. Hopefully this video will help you to fix your no heat issue. If you like this video, do me a favor and also check out my other videos. I'll put links to them on this side of the screen that you can click on. There will also be links down below in the description box as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.